Hello everyone, I am Alice Flores and I'm here at the TRCC, Toronto Rape Crisis Center. As we know, and probably the whole nation knows about the verdict about Jian Ghomeshi, that he's set free. He's now free, a free man, after all these damages that they did to women to the years. I am here in the TRCC and women are very emotionally, it's like I will believe many other women organizations are pretty much disappointed with this news, and we're going to be talking to them and see what is coming after this verdict and how can we do something, because it seems to be the law are in protecting women that are getting abused or getting specialized, and how can we give them more voice in court and all these things. So stay tuned with us, and we come in next with the women of the TRCC. Hello everyone, we are here with Deb Sim. She's from the TRCC. She's actually going to be talking to us about her reaction with the morning verdict for Jian Ghomeshi. How are you, Deb?
I'm sad and disappointed, but not surprised in any way. This verdict is not news to us. We know that the system has been discrediting survivors of sexual violence for decades, so this is not a surprising verdict. But I know, being a counselor at the Toronto Rape Crisis Center, Multicultural Women Against Rape, many people are affected by this verdict. Even if 3 survivors had left the court today very disappointed, thousands, millions of survivors across Canada are feeling like the system let us down, the media let us down in terms of how they're reporting sexual assaults to the police or credibility. So it's truly there's a huge girth to understanding the verdict today, and I think a lot of survivors feel that disappointment and yet not shock about the verdict today.
So I know there's a rally going on this afternoon at 5:30 in the old City Hall. Mm-hmm. Now that you have the system that we hear, there is still nothing changing for survivors, and always continue giving free to abusing men. Mm-hmm. What do you think we need to do to actually make more a system that protects women?
I think in order to stop sexual violence, the legal system could use a really easily accessible tool, which is believing survivors. We know that the rates of survivors of sexual violence lying about their sexual assault is lower than any other crime rate of people lying about that crime happening to them. So if the system believed survivors more, if we use different tools to be able to assess whether or not someone's guilty of this crime, that would be supportive to survivors. But on the larger scale, I think when we're thinking about ending sexual violence and gender-based violence against women and trans people, education is a huge piece, integrating men into the conversation, talking about different measures of justice as opposed to the legal system. For example, transformative justice or community accountability. I think we need to listen to what survivors want. The most basic thing is that our power has been taken away by the fact that sexual assault happened to us. We weren't allowed to say no in the context of how our bodies were used. So we need to give survivors back their power and let them make choices about how they're going to deal with their experience of sexual assault, with the legal system, with the medical system, with emotional support, with their friends, family, with their sexuality. I think society, we could give back the power to survivors that was taken away when sexual assault happened to us in many different ways.
And one of the things that the judge based his verdict,
his ruling
was the most time passed, the less
reliable the testimony could have been.
Yeah.
So there was a piece around how long it took for survivors to report, and therefore the reliability of their stories, the ability to remember.
How much is that true? How much is that true?
Well, I mean, obviously we know that trauma itself affects your brain. It affects memory. at the same time, I think because, we can go even deeper into the judge's ruling around some of the things he said in context of why he came to a not guilty verdict. One of the things he said was that women, the complainants, didn't tell parts of their story in like a linear sort of way. So they told one part, and then they told another part, and then they told another part. And because some of the content of their stories was that they still talked to Jian Ghomeshi after he had assaulted them, that their story wasn't as believable, and also because they didn't forthrightly tell the police at the time of their original testimony that they still talked to him after the sexual assaults happened, that it made them, it was like the judge just talked about it like it was intentional deception on the part of the complainants. So what I'm trying to say is that the judge basically said that because these survivors didn't tell all of their story right up front to the police, that they're not really credible witnesses,
Right.
So that's super problematic, because we know that, first of all, we shouldn't be judging whether or not a sexual assault happened based on when a complainant or a survivor tells their story or how they tell their story, right? We know that the stories are going to have different parts and different ways. That doesn't mean the sexual assault didn't happen. So, but of course, the system has decided that it's now, because she didn't tell the story in a certain way, she's not credible, and therefore he gets off in a not guilty verdict. So it's all the same results for survivors, that we're not believed, that we're supposed to act in certain ways when sexual assault happens to us, even though the law does not require it. The law does not require us to show a certain kind of fear, or fear looks a certain way. The law does not require us to not talk to the person who perpetrated sexual assault against us in order to claim experience of sexual violence. All of this has come to an interpretation of multiple judges on how a survivor behaved after the violence, and therefore she's not to be believed, right? So again, it's judges, the highest level of justice in our land, are perpetrating the same old rape culture myths and using it against survivors, so there is no justice for us. I think the only two people that are happy today are Jian Ghomeshi and his lawyer.
Right. And Dev, for any other survivor that is out there now with the hope and the floor and the trash completely, if they need support, they can call the TRCC, the Toronto Rape Crisis Center. Mm-hmm. Because this organization, that's what they do. They help women that have been abused, and they are here in the center of downtown. So please feel free to call the TRCC, because they have a specialist to talk to them about what is happening today, and also for survivors to look for a space to be here. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes. We have a 24-hour crisis line. You can call anytime. It's confidential. It's free. 416-597-8808. A counselor will call you back 24 hours a day. We've had lots of survivors be triggered by the multiple news reports, articles out there that are about sexual violence since the Ghomeshi trial started early February. We also offer face-to-face counseling and, of course, court support for survivors who are going to court, wanting to report to the police, doing a sexual assault evidence kit, and not just criminal court, but family court, deportation court, CAS appointments. We'll support survivors through any of those kind of bureaucratic meetings that they need to have. But ultimately, we believe that survivors, we are the best experts of our own lives. We know how to take care of ourselves, and we've been doing that way before we reported, and we'll be doing that way after our criminal cases are complete. So we just want to say that we believe you, and we are with you, and we're here.
Thank you so much, Dev. See you next time. We're gonna continue making some interviews with other women that has been affected by this new. See you next time.
You've been gone. You don't know what I'm going through.